Foundation 45 is a 501c3 nonprofit that funds counseling services for mental health, addiction, and suicide survivors. In addition to providing services, it works to break the stigma surrounding these topics. Foundation 45 recognizes that musicians, artists, and creative types are often at a higher risk for issues with mental health and addiction. The organization's goal is to serve the Dallas-Fort Worth creative community by providing free, top-tier mental health and recovery services. You can learn more about Foundation 45 at foundation45.org. Foundation 45. Live fast, die old. I'm Andrew Sherman. I'm a Texas transplant who has always been in pursuit of art as a career. I've played in bands, pursued an acting career in Hollywood, but I found it behind the lens of a camera here in Dallas, Texas. I was born in New York, I've lived in Chicago, Los Angeles, Austin, but I love Dallas. There's a magical artistic scene in Dallas that mostly goes unnoticed to the outside world. This podcast is focused on what makes it so special and the people who make it thrive artistically. If you don't live here, and even if you do, you might not have heard of them. This is the Dallas Famous Podcast. So who you gonna be? Who you gonna be when you're all grown up? Who you gonna be? Who you gonna be when you're all for us? Yeah. This week on the Dallas Famous Podcast, it's singer-songwriter and visual artist Sarah Johnson. Sarah has recently made the big move to Nashville, where she's continuing to build her music career with her powerful voice, heartfelt lyrics, and captivating art. But Sarah is still a driving force in the Dallas music scene, where she founded the Girls of DFW, a roundtable that spotlights and celebrates female singers from the area. We'll dive into her journey from DFW to Nashville, discuss her creative process in both music and art, and explore her experiences in both communities. No matter where her journey takes her, Dallas will always be home for Sarah. I had a great time talking with her, and I know you're going to dig this one. We are back here, as always, at the Deep Ellum Community Center. We have the lovely Sarah Johnson with us.
Thanks so much for having me. I love being here.
Thank you. Yeah, so it's funny because I don't make a big play of it, but we're trying to get sponsors. And I wake up one day and there's a message in my box. It's like, hey, would you like to sponsor our show? And I was like, I need sponsors. But then I was like, sure, why not? Because it's Girls of DFW. So I was like, all right, sounds like a good cause. So I was like, She's so smart. She even got me to do that.
Well, it turned out to be a really cool barter, as like a sponsorship through your talent. And that's the cool thing about, I think, the Dallas music scene is that everyone wants to support each other. And even if it's not monetary, it's like, hey, let's do pictures or interviews. And then you'll do, so It's very collaborative.
Totally. I mean, it's cool. I mean, and we're going to get into that. But let's just start because I don't even think I know where you're from.
Oh.
Yeah,
let's start from the very beginning.
Yes, indeed.
I am from Dallas, Texas, born and raised.
Oh, you're from Dallas. Okay.
Yeah.
So then you came and then you've branched out to other places.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. But hometown is Dallas, Texas.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, then I'll let you stay.
Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding.
I'm allowed.
I wasn't born here. Okay. Did I say that you're a singer, songwriter, artist? Let's just be sure we get that out at the top. And I just saw you perform at the Longhorn, went to full band. And it was amazing. And I'm not just saying that because I've seen you solo and I was like, cool. There's a bunch. I mean, I'll be honest. I was really more working and focusing on shooting that show too because you were only playing a few songs.
Yeah.
But I was able to shoot your show and then stop and absorb music. And I was like, damn girl.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I appreciate that.
And there was much of the same sentiment around the room. So,
yeah.
Okay. So Dallas, well, let's just start at the beginning. Like, how did you first kind of discover music? What was the first thing?
I just have a very creative, music-loving family. Not a lot of players or singers, but it was just always around. And my dad has this great classic rock. He's from St. Louis, so all these classic rock influences. And then he was always playing music. My mom is just this creative, gregarious character that made up songs about everything from like crossing the street to setting the table. I mean, that was just how she taught us, was through making up these little jingles almost.
Oh, wow.
So between my dad's kind of cool music and then my mom making up songs, put them together and you're bound to get a singer-songwriter because that's the way I just learned to process the world was like, oh, you just make up songs for things. Of course you do.
Oh, that's
and
great.
And then, had his good music playing all the time. So it was a combination of both.
Okay. Like when was the first time where you kind of like took the initiative of picking up an instrument or maybe singing something?
So my mom says I wrote my first song at 2 years old. And when she says write, it was just like I had this little little line that I kept singing over and over that she knew I didn't hear at church or on the radio or, on a tape or something, literally tape at the time. And it was just, God watching over me, God watching over me. So then I think from a small age, I was always just singing my own little songs. And then I tried to play piano. It was not my forte, if you will, and then picked up guitar in 5th grade and fell in love with it.
Oh, in 5th grade. Okay. Like in church or?
Yeah, it was for church. It was to be on the middle school worship band and sing Jennifer Knapp songs, if that's a throwback for people that might be in the old school CCM world. But yeah.
Yeah, not in my.
Yeah.
I was going to temple.
That's a whole different genre.
Yeah. Cool. Okay, so that's a place a lot of people start, I guess, right?
Yeah, it's a very common thread with a lot of musicians.
So, but also, I'm sure there's a lot of people at that age that are just doing it and like it's fun and it's like not working what they're going to do. So, how was it for you that like that started to become something more serious?
You know what? It really, I struggle to say the word late bloomer because I think everything happens in its time, but I really did not start pursuing music in this Americana country vein or even as my sole profession until about 3 years ago. So
Whoa.
I am very new, but I have a lifetime of doing, the worship bands, singing for events, and a lot more just faith-based church events, everything like that. That was very involved in my career in the 20s. And then when I started writing more of the songs like what you heard at Longhorn Ballroom, I had a couple people listen to them and they were like, hey, that's a good song. You should do something with that. And I think I was already feeling such a draw to that. And, I think sometimes when you actually do pursue something, you kind of realize the dream has been in there the whole time, but maybe you didn't have the courage or it wasn't the right timing to do it.
Yeah.
And so it was 2019 and I was like, okay, I'm going to start this. I'm going to dip my toe in. So the reason why I say 3 years is because I really kind of quote unquote started in 2019 and then my first EP was supposed to be released March 2020, which we all know what happened then. So my EP release party got pushed 2 weeks and then 2 years.
Oh, wow.
And so it was a very wild time to try to actually launch, which I really just didn't. And then it was about 2021 when I was like, okay, I think the world's opening enough that I can really start trying to get some traction.
I'm kind of shocked because I feel like I've heard of you. I mean, maybe it's just, the collective conscious thing, but I feel like I heard of you long before we connected in any way. So,
Aww.
Yeah, so to me, it's impressive that you got yourself out there like that. So, okay, well then, what were you thinking you were going to do at that young age? What'd you go to college for?
So I went to the University of Texas and I studied broadcast journalism.
Oh, okay.
I was going to be the next Oprah and I was going to have my own travel show. And I mean, singing just wasn't on my radar. It really wasn't. I loved it, but I was just not thinking that could be a career for me. I mean, my guitar was under my bed for 4 years in college.
Do you think there might be something about how it was just something that all of you guys did and then maybe you just took it for granted how good you might have been or that you might have had something that was worthwhile expressing yourself?
I think it was, I don't even know. I think it was a combination of that, what you're saying, but also just not really having the courage or the confidence to think that anyone would want to come to a concert and hear me play. And also, I do think that, growing up in church and having worship music be your only expression of music, that's a very, for people that are worship leaders, there's this kind of high calling that your gifts and talents are for God. And while I do believe that, and I think that's a very wonderful calling for people that are like so drawn to that, I think there's also you shy away from maybe this is about me or the attention or the I'm coming on stage to sing about myself.
I see.
So you kind of have to get over a couple barriers to actually go from maybe a background in church where all your gifts and talents are kind of unto the higher power of God to then realize that it is just as great of a calling and just as cool of a calling or purposeful calling to go to a venue in Deep Ellum and to show people light and joy and love and authenticity and realness on a stage, even singing about pain or fun or whatever else. And I think maybe there's a little religious hurdle you have to get over that's okay, and that actually is a really equally as important calling as well. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Though. I mean, because I just started working. I just shot a guy, Shane Spencer, I want to say, and he like just came on the scene, and he's like got gigs booked through next year, and I'm like, I've never heard of you, and it's like, well, yeah, me and two of these guys have been in church band for decades.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, so there's this whole. It's weird. It's almost like you're invisible in that world to the rest of the world, but that's has nothing to do with it. It's more about you just were like, I want to start doing my kind of songs and songs that are not just about that. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And it just was that was what was like flowing out of me at the time. And I think I learned a lot in really kind of getting in touch with the part of myself that was okay with expressing something other than, and there's a time and place for all of this. I'm not knocking
Oh, it doesn't sound like
but
it.
like, okay, you go through pain or a breakup or something really hard. I cannot write anything other than what what is real. And a lot of times, which is a beautiful thing, and maybe the Christian circle is you're going to take that circumstance and you're going to write a song but it's okay because God's got me, which is true and amazing and awesome. However, I think at the time I was learning how to get in touch and be more real about what I was feeling, thinking, going through. And so for me, my authentic expression of that was just to write about, man, I'm sad. I'm disappointed. I am hurt. And then actually to see and to perform those songs for other people where they resonated with that realness. And they were like, I've never put words to that, or I didn't know other people felt that, or that's exactly how I felt. And now you wrote a song for me. And it was like those moments where I started sharing that instead of just, but it's okay. It was like the actual moments where I was like that song, I have a song called Fire. And it's just like, we could have been fire. That you only caused pain, like allowing myself to just kind of get like mad at someone even. And then to have people listen to that song and be like, oh, that's exactly how I felt. And I was like, whoa, like I am connecting with a realness in myself that is then connecting with other people because it's coming from such a honest place. And I really loved that part of like the country Americana, let's say secular world.
Mm-hmm. Was there like a breakup, or is there something that like kind of put you over
many.
but I mean that put you over the edge to make this decision, that like
Kind of.
to that?
Yeah, actually it was kind of like a particular, what do they call it, situationship now. I don't think we had a word for it then.
Yeah,
it has since been
new.
coined situationship, but
Yeah.
you go through 2 years of a situationship, you're going to get some songs.
It's true. Maybe young songwriters in songwriting class, you should teach that. Like just don't get too don't find the right one until you've got a couple albums under your belt. 'Cause otherwise,
exactly.
That's funny. Okay, well, so then you went to school for broadcast journalism, and you're going to be the next Oprah. And so that didn't work out, I guess.
So and I'm not those people that shies away from saying my age. I graduated college in 2010. So that was around the time of the 2008, crazy just economic downturn.
Yeah, okay.
I really could not find a job. And also I realized that the broadcast journalism world I would go live in the tiniest town in Texas, be a nighttime reporter for $12,000 a year, and then build my way up. And I was doing my interviews in these small towns I don't know if I really want this. The reality is hitting me of what I just signed up to do, because there wasn't even Instagram at the time. People weren't building their own platforms. It was still like a traditional journalism track.
Yeah.
And so I was kind of like, okay, let me just rethink this. I'm going to go back to Dallas, get a media internship and kind of reevaluate. And then that summer, I started helping my mom with a project. She'd always wanted to write an inspirational book for women and girls, like a Bible study. So I helped her do that. I do graphic design, and my writing and communication played into that. And then that's really, when I was alluding to my more faith expression of music, for 10 years, we had a women's entrepreneurial ministry where we had a devotional. I had Christian music. We are both painters, and we put together really creative speaking engagements for women and girls. So I was going all over the country singing, and I was singing in stadiums and different things like that.
Wild.
But it was under an umbrella of a ministry. So it wasn't, it's like
Yeah.
a bigger picture, just like what you're saying about your church guys. It wasn't about Sarah Johnson music. It was about
Sure.
this ministry that we had and everything like that. So
Yeah, but it's like that's the root of Girls of DFW, obviously.
yeah. And then, you see these different expressions of how, I don't think anything's wasted. I think everything's part of your journey. And some of that women's empowerment and community and event planning and everything like that now has just trickled into this next season of life where, the Girls of DFW, it's the same purpose. It's, celebrating gifts and talents. It's bringing women together. It's, lifting each other up. It's involving the community. So it is interesting to see all these things that I just kind of like put some new clothes on, but it's similar skills.
Yeah. Yeah. It's funny. I was talking to my stepdaughter about the Pretenders and Chrissy Hines' like significance. And like back then, like she was one of the only rocker chicks, and it's just completely different now. It's like gender has no bearing on like how you want to perform, like what you want to sound like. It's different. It wasn't like that really,
Yeah. I mean, that's neat that we were able to see all the spectrums of whether you're the very, very feminine or whether you're going to go rocker, but it's all beautiful and it's all awesome.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
It's all like so worth being just yourself, because that's what the world needs.
Yeah, for sure. So somehow I guess we might have to backtrack. Where like the art aspect of your life, the painter aspect, or like how did that start? And then let's talk about that for a minute.
So I always tell people, day job is art, night job is music. And so I have my visual art and, I mean, again, just creative home. I mean, our Friday nights were, all right, here's $5, go to Michael's craft store, get your supplies, come home. This is what we're doing tonight. It was just very like this is part of what we do in the Johnson family is we create, and here's your art table. And
wow,
it was just
fun.
a very creative home. And I'm so grateful for that. I mean, my mom was a fashion designer in the 80s and very creative. And then,
cool.
My dad's he grew up with like a wood shop in his basement. So it's like you have these parents that their gifts and talents were fostered and then they pass that on to us. So just very creative home. And then always did art classes and everything. But then it wasn't until I started that business with my mom that I was like, okay, I'm going to do paintings that I'm going to paint paintings that are for other people and to sell them, and really crafting that more fine art and a little bit more of I hate to say commercial, but just something where I'm painting it for someone else. I'm painting for their home. I'm developing my style that other people would want on their wall.
Right.
And so that was throughout my 20s is crafting that. So I do have the Sarah Johnson art and the Sarah Johnson music right now that has, been both a lifetime in the making.
Huh, that's wild. And then, did you say you do graphic design? Is that something you do professionally?
I do, but it's like my random side hustle that if you know, and you can ask me to build a website, or you can ask me to, swap a face on a Christmas card picture. But it's really just, you probably could ask a lot of creatives and musicians, and I bet all of them would have graphic design in their toolkit, because now it's just essential.
Yeah,
You're making
it's true. I just saw a friend make
a
flyer, and I was just like, you did that? Okay.
Yeah.
Nice,
it's like, all right, who's going to do, are you going to outsource and pay money, or are you going to figure it out yourself? And most times you're going to try to figure it out yourself. So graphic design was one of those.
Right. Let's talk a little bit more about Girls of DFW. Like, just say what it is, first of all, because we've just been talking about it and haven't explained it.
So Girls of DFW is an all-female singer-songwriter showcase, just highlighting and celebrating the talent that we have in the DFW area. And so we give a writer's round type of concert where you're really doing the listening room style. You're telling the stories behind songs. You're really getting to showcase that original music. And so the bigger purpose of it all, though, is to really bring our female talent together, show the world how collaborative Dallas is. And I think, sometimes there can be some misconceptions about artists having competition or just, trying to get ahead of each other. But really, when you bring all of those women from all genres, I mean, we do every genre, every style together in a room, and you see the just support that we have for each other and just the celebration of what we do together. It's a beautiful thing, and it empowers us. I think it is a really great display to Dallas, how much talent we have. And then hopefully all ships rise together and we're all kind of able to support each other as we grow.
Yeah, it was cool to go because, I guess I didn't really know what to expect. And like telling the stories behind the songs. It's kind of refreshing. I mean, people will do that in the show, but to have like each woman do it like individually and then hear the song, it was a nice mix, and it was a nice, like you didn't get overload of one person. But I mean, really, everybody was really good and interesting and different.
I'm so glad you got to go, and we loved your pictures from it. Just as a plug for
thanks.
you, the pictures were amazing.
Thank you very much. And then also, I saw that you were involved with Boarded Up Music.
Yes, yeah. So if I could just shout their name from the rooftops as much as possible, I can and will continue to do that. But they create the most incredible live music videos for artists in the DFW area, or even touring artists. They have the stage, they do the mix, they have amazing videography, and it is free because they work off of grants or donations from other people. And I feel like it's a very underground thing that everyone should know about it, because now content is king. And I've asked bookers, hey, why'd you book me, or how did you book me? And I go, well, I went to YouTube. And a lot of people don't think about that. They think everyone's just going to their Instagram, but bookers want to see a live show. Bookers want to see the band together. Bookers want to see videos like that to book you. And so I guarantee you that some of the gigs that I've gotten have been because they found that Boarded Up video and saw the lights, camera, action, and great sound. And that was free. I mean, that's amazing.
That is amazing. Because I mean, that's the only way that someone that doesn't know you can go, okay, I heard this song. Like, what am I getting?
Yeah. What's the live version? What's going to happen when I put her on my stage? Hey, little lady, what's your name? I'm a rodeo man looking for fame, but tonight I'm looking at you. I said I'm leaving in the morning. He said, come on, I'll tell you a story in a place where stars outnumber sand. So he took my hand and we went to the river, talked like friends and kissed like lovers, hoping that the sun would never rise. But before we said goodbye, he said, say a little prayer for me while I'm riding those bulls across the country. Never met a girl like you before, but I'm tied to the road like a soldier at war. I'll give you my red bandana to remember that night in Montana. Well, now I'm back in Texas, skirts flat in every direction, thinking of the rodeo man who swept me away. Your bandana around my neck, thinking of the night we first met, sharing our hopes and dreams in the light of the moon. Oh, all too soon it ended, but dusk till dawn, we pretended that forever could start that night. But before we said goodbye, he said, say a little prayer for me while I'm riding those bulls across the country. Never met a girl like you before, but I'm tied to the road like a soldier at war. I'll give you my red bandana to remember that night in Montana. He called me once from Idaho, said the days are fast, but the nights are slow without you. Oh, without you. I think about you often, don't think that I've forgotten how you gave this broken man a healing touch. And I've had too much whiskey, but I wanna know if you miss me, 'cause I've been missing you since last July. But before we said goodbye, I said, say a little prayer for you while you're riding bulls across the red, white, and blue. Never met a guy like you before who's tied to the road like a soldier at war. I kept your red bandana to remember that night in Montana.
feel like I saw somewhere that they're like, because we already know about, well, you moved to Nashville.
I did.
Yeah, just recently. And we know about your connection here. And then there's like a Montana connection.
So my grandparents lived in Montana.
Okay.
So I spent every summer of my life going up there. And then in the last 3-4 years, since I really started pursuing music, I've discovered this incredible music scene up there.
Yeah, I'm starting to hear about
local artists, venues, just this hub of creativity. And they've been so welcoming, which I really appreciate because it's a small town. And, you know, there's a lot of pride in being a Montanan and growing up there or being part of the community. And they've embraced me, I think, just because I have my history and my lifetime there. And but it's awesome. I love it, and the talent up there is incredible.
Is it like an Americana vibe?
Yes.
Or? Okay.
Yeah, very Americana.
Huh. Okay. So but let's talk about Nashville. Like, why move to Nashville?
Nashville was a city that I had on my radar for a very long time, and you know, it's always that question: what if? What if I tried? What if I took a chance? And I will say that it was a big decision for me because Dallas has been such an incredible place for me as a musician. And I can't talk about Nashville without talking about Dallas because Dallas, I was going to move to Nashville actually in 2019. And then I was searching the world over for a producer, and I kept hearing this music that I really liked.
Oh yeah.
And I would follow where they recorded. And it was all modern electric, which we're in Deep Ellum right now, is maybe 2 miles north.
Yep.
And I looked it up and I was like, that's in Dallas. And I'm finding this in Nashville.
Oh, I didn't know.
I did not know about it.
Wild.
I mean, I was like
Okay.
starting from just zero when I started music. And so I contacted Bo Bedford and left him this voicemail that was like so nervous, like, oh, hello, Bo, I really like your music. Like, will you listen to mine and see if you want to work with me? And, he was so cool. He's such a kind guy.
Very nice. Sweet
And
dude.
he was like, hey, man, I listen to your stuff. Yeah, I'd like to work with you. And I was like, okay, great. I'll be right there. And I went from Nashville, like the next week I was bags packed back to Dallas to work with
Okay.
him. But
Wow.
then I was going to go kind of back and forth. Well, then COVID happened. So I've always had Nashville like just on my radar. And
Were you doing shows there before you moved there?
yes.
Okay.
So then when I really pushed accelerator on music, 2021, I was in Nashville at least quarterly. So I've been going back and forth a lot. So I have a community there. I have venues that I know and love there. And so I've been building kind of this life in Nashville.
Are you going to do a Girls of Nashville?
There is one.
Okay.
There actually is one, and that I kind of modeled Girls of DFW after. And Girls of Nashville, I know the founder, and she's a really good friend. And, I got her blessing to start Girls of DFW, but there actually is a Girls of Nashville. I just went the other night.
Nice.
But I think like Dallas, like I've grown so much here, and I could not move to Nashville with confidence without the history that I've had here and the opportunities that I've had and the confidence that this city has given me by believing in me and giving me opportunities. But it was just, again, like that what if, and the music business and industry and infrastructure that they have there is something that no matter what happens in my life, I do want to be very connected to. And I think you have to live there to do that.
Yeah.
And they have a little bit, which I'd love to see more in Dallas, but they have a very collaborative songwriting community. Dallas, I didn't know what co-writing was until I went to Nashville. People ask me, do you have rights set up or co-writes? And I literally was like, say what? What
I've
is that?
never heard that phrase.
See?
Yeah.
Nashville, you don't write a song by yourself. It is a co-writing culture, but you learn a lot.
Huh.
And then your network gets bigger by, I wrote with this person, and then that connects me to this person. Everyone in Dallas is a little bit of like, in their creative process is a little bit more siloed, but they'll do a lot of concerts together and everything like that. But Nashville, the culture is that you create together. And I wanted to learn from that.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Man, that is such a good idea. Of course they do it there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wild. I haven't been there yet. I'd like to check it out.
Oh, you should go.
Yeah. But when you go on stage in Nashville and you play a show, do you say, hey, I'm from Dallas, Texas?
I've struggled with that because I think, and I've only done a couple shows, but and I will say, I'm so proud of being from Dallas, and I love representing the talent that we have in Dallas. I think I'll always say, hometown is Dallas, and, maybe I need to put in, but I just moved, or, something.
Sure.
I'm figuring out how to tie that in. But even just as like a Texas girl, I just have such pride in us and Dallas and Texas that I think there will always be a Texas mention.
Yeah. Okay. Well, then we'll let this air, this interview. No, I'm just teasing. So you moved to Nashville. I mean, okay, another thing I heard about Nashville is that there's like more like record label people there, that like maybe someone might just be at an open mic or at a songwriter thing. Is that what, I mean, you just got there, you probably wouldn't.
No, you're right. I mean, that's the thing about Nashville is like you never know who's in the audience. And I mean, that applies everywhere, but in Dallas, you're not necessarily wondering if like the head of a label could be in the audience.
Yeah.
Because we just don't have that.
Yeah.
Or we have a couple labels here.
It's like, I guess we did have majors at one time here in the past, and they just left. This is one of the reasons I do this podcast. Is it's just like such a mystery how we have such amazing stuff happening all over the place here in every genre, and we don't have that. We don't have the labels. We don't have the recognition.
Well, and I think to that point, I think what I'm very encouraged by is that we're now seeing, I think, people acknowledge that and work hard to bring more of that business side to Dallas.
Mm-hmm.
And we now have like the Dallas Music Office that's come in.
Right.
Even before that, there's the Texas Music Office, and BMI started an office in Austin. So I think there has been a true recognition of the Texas talent and what they can bring to the bigger stage. And now I feel like Dallas we've chipped away. And I almost feel bad saying we, because there are people that came far before me and have worked really hard. I mean, Ottoman Turks is doing their 15-year anniversary coming up.
Yes.
And they were some of the first guys that I met in the industry that opened the door and showed me how many musicians we have here. So I almost feel unworthy to say we. But there are people that have been chipping away at bringing attention to Dallas. And I think now we're starting to see kind of the infrastructure come in with like the Dallas Music Office. But State Fair Records has been a Dallas record label that has done leaps and bounds for artists and making that connection between Nashville, LA, Dallas. They've done so much. So there's so many people on Team Dallas. It's a matter of time before people really acknowledge that. But I think we're still on a journey. We're still on a journey. And what my hope for Dallas is that we become a city with a lot more excitement about the discovery process. Because you can sell out, you bring your headlining artists, like they'll stop in Dallas, and sometimes they say ticket sales are hard. But Dallas, we have you could find any stage, any night of the week here where like independent artists are coming. But I don't know yet, and I hope to see this grow, that there's like a music discovery spirit where people are like, no, Dallas has these great artists. Let's go find them. Let's go see these people before they're on that big stage. Let's find the trends before they're trends, because we know it's here. So that's my hope for Dallas.
Yeah, I mean, I hope so too. And I know there's like a couple of more venues of like larger size coming, and I feel like that might attract the bigger tours more often. We'll see. But okay, I mean, let's wrap it up by talking just about your music and like your specific plans and releases and stuff like that.
Yeah. Okay, so I am releasing a song, and I know we're time stamping here, but it's August 5th. I'm releasing a song August 9th, and it's actually called Going to Nashville. So it's a song that I wrote when I first moved to Nashville. And then it was like I was, prophesying or projecting that this was going to happen again. But I have kept this song in the vault, kind of maybe wondering when the right timing would be. And then it was like, oh, well, I actually am moving to Nashville, so this would be a great time. So I'm going to release that song on August 9th.
Cool.
And then I have plans to, and this is one thing I'll tell you, and, this is I hope by sharing this, it maybe encourages other people that I don't necessarily have everything figured out. I'm kind of trying to figure out if I should keep doing the singles thing, because historically I've just released one single at a time with a visual campaign with its own splash and videos and everything like that. But I do have a full album that is in the vault. And so it's kind of like, do I release that in one splash? And is that the best move for me as an independent artist versus getting, that 8-second attention span with every release, or do I put it all out there in an album and get maybe a little bit more industry respect because some people want to see that album. So I share that because hopefully to listeners out there or musicians, like we're all figuring it out.
Wow,
and I don't have a huge master plan.
Yeah.
But thankfully in getting some help, getting some advice, I'm completely independent. Like I don't have a team helping me. I don't have a label making this decision for me because they know it's best. I'm kind of just a wing and a prayer and seeing what happens. And most of all, having fun with it. I'm having a lot of fun with it, but it takes a little bit of organic process along with it.
Right. Your next recording, you think you'll come back to modern electric, or you might try something else?
That is such a good question. I am not sure yet. I now have just such an affinity for modern electric and now Echo Lab, which is where I finished it.
Yep.
I did. Bo Bedford started the project, and then Charlie Wiles finished the project with me. So it's kind of a half project, and I just love what they do so much. I think it could be hard to switch, but at the same time, you kind of have to be open to different sounds and how that's going to grow, or connecting yourself to another circle of music, because by doing that with modern and Echo, it was like I got invited into that world and that circle.
That is a good
circle. So then is there another world and circle that I could then affiliate with by doing a recording with someone else? So you have to kind of think about all of that, the bigger picture of your who you work with.
God, I never thought of it like that. That's pretty interesting problem to have.
Yeah.
Not a problem.
What talented person do I get to work with?
It's a testament to, the quality of your songwriting and your performance, because I know Bo doesn't take everybody, and, again, I'm sure with the songwriting stuff, it's like you can't just, we're going to write with Sarah. Like, oh, she's horrible, I'm not doing that. It's like it doesn't work that way.
He took a chance on me. I mean, I sent him YouTube videos, and I had never played a gig. And I just sent him my songs that were just YouTube videos.
Well, you never played you've done gigs,
right.
It's not your stuff.
Not my stuff, but I had done maybe one house show.
Okay.
Yeah.
I want to get into the headspace of your first show, Sarah Johnson show, not the house show, like show.
Yeah.
Like, what was that like after having done like stadiums and churches and all that other stuff? Like, what was that like?
I think I was very excited, and I was nervous. I mean, it was a whole different hat to wear. It was a whole different mentality. It was also, you're entertaining people, to have them look at you and to see the clothes that you're wearing and your persona, and you're talking to them, and you're raising, you're cheersing an alcoholic beverage, it's very different.
Yeah.
And I thankfully, because I had so much experience, at least, performing, that there was a level of comfortability that, I just was able to kind of dive in. And if there's some advice that I think is translatable to all genres, it is never let them see you sweat. Like, you go up there with confidence and you kind of fake it till you make it. Like, no one knows you're nervous until you tell them, or until you let them know,
Right.
So I did have at least enough, I've done this 1,000 times, and I'm, this is gonna be a great night, just kind of like a little confident pep talk, or at least a facade at the time to make it through. But I had so much fun. I mean, you do one of those shows, and again, like, I'm not saying it was because, I got this attention. It was because, again, it's like, my greater purpose in music is that you're going to connect with the song, or you're going to have a good time, or you're going to dance with your partner and have a great time. Like, it's not, and then, you do that thinking it's going to be about yourself, and that might be the hiccup, or that's the drawback of, this is going to be about me, and I'm self-conscious, or I have to promote myself. But then when you do that and you see that, oh my gosh, like, this was a fun date for someone, this was a cool experience for someone, this is a song that connected with someone about that life experience, it just makes you realize that this genre serves the audience just as much as anything else. And that's truly what it is about. And then it doesn't become about you. It becomes about you being this, like, vessel of bringing joy and light and talent and providing people with, like, a really great time. And it becomes not about you. And that's the beautiful thing.
Right. Yeah, it's true. I mean, when I saw you perform it, like if you would have told me you had been playing your own music for 3 years, like it makes more sense that you've been on stage because you are 100% comfortable. I've seen you like with a band, without a band, like you're opening for Dale Watson. So you're opening for a bunch of people that have no idea who you are, and you had the whole audience like with you. So
thank
yeah,
you.
you did by the end.
Well, and I think that's truly because I'm grounded in my purpose, and music is to connect.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like I create and connect. And then when I'm on that stage, like I know none of these people have heard me before, and they're kind of like, who is this? Why did we show up early?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm going to connect with you. And I know that, I'm going to make you cheer for Dale, and I'm going to tell you a little story about the song, or I'm going to call you out that you did a great dip. And like, I'm always searching for ways, like, how do I connect with, like, I'm on stage, you're there, but what's our connection? Because I want you to leave. What do they say? They might not even remember the songs, but they're going to remember how they felt.
Yeah.
Watching me. So did I create that connection that they want to come see me again? Or even that, and even if they never remember me, did I create a connection that made them excited to see Dale?
Mm-hmm.
It's just, again, it's like your bigger purpose.
Well, I mean, I'm just letting you know, a lot of people try, and we're very good at it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank
I mean,
you.
and it's great having you. I'm glad it's worked out. Thanks again. Like, we'll have links to all your stuff, and good luck in Nashville, and we'll look for you when you come back.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah.
I'm so impressed by what you do. And for all the people listening to this podcast, please keep listening to more because you're doing a great job. So
appreciate
thank you.
it. See, that's why we had her on, for that one little ad. Yeah. Thanks again, Sarah.
Thanks.
I'd like to thank Sarah Johnson for being on the show and playing the song Montana for us. You can check the show notes to see where she'll be next and to check out the music and the art. Get your own Dallas Famous Podcast t-shirt. The link is now available in the show notes. Thank you again to the Deep Ellum Community Center for letting us record there. Theme song, Unstoppable by Salim Nuralla. Thank you for listening. Please like, subscribe, follow, all the good stuff, and share it with your friends. We'll see you next time.